It is after 10. Give my daughter the paint shop.
Mrs. Greenway, I was going to.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
Just a few minutes.
Well, please, it's after 10.
Debra Winger's influence in Hollywood transcends the screen to include her personal battles in the industry and the legacy that she has left behind for every young actor out there. She might have had a difficult life, fraught with challenges, but her impact will forever remain undeniable. Today, we will take you through Debra Winger's life struggles and challenges, all of which came together to form the formidable personality that we all know and cherish today. Let's get right into it. Debra Winger was born on May 16, 1955, in Cleveland, Ohio, to a Jewish family. She was raised in a middle-class family and grew up in a household where education and hard work were given top priority. She was a highly curious child and was extremely independent, wanting to pursue various interests as a child. Her family had relocated to California in her childhood, where she would stay for most of her early life. Winger was an independent and smart-thinking individual, even at a young age, and had numerous career choices. She was a bookish individual and was particularly fascinated by the prospect of attending college. She attended California State University Northridge following high school, where she was set to be a criminology major. She even thought about being a police officer or an astronaut someday because she was so captivated by spaceflight. But that was not meant to be. At a relatively early age, around her 20s, Winger's life drastically changed when she was involved in a horrific car accident. The crash caused a cerebral hemorrhage, and she was paralyzed and blind for a while. The severity of the damage made the physicians question whether or not she would ever be back to full health. She faced the possibility of never having use of her eyes or limbs again. The few months of recovery time offered more than enough opportunity for soul-searching. She realized life was so brief and began rethinking her past goals. She vowed that if she were to survive, she was going to live her life doing what she loved. When she finally was well enough, she made the life-altering choice to pursue acting. It wasn't a random decision. She had always been interested in acting and storytelling, but it was never something that she could do professionally prior to the accident. Winger wished to make it in Hollywood, and she auditioned and did whatever she could find. She was a theme park costumed character in one of her first professional entertainment ventures. It made her realize that she was comfortable acting in a role. It also reaffirmed her choice to pursue acting as a career. She stuck with it and earned her first screen credit in the 1976 Slumber Party 57, a sex comedy teen movie. The film didn't get any publicity, but it was something, and she was able to earn some screen time. She soon got a recurring role on the TV series Wonder Woman in 1979 as Wonder Girl or Drusilla. As a supporting actress, it made her a Hollywood face, and soon roles started coming her way. Winger's first big break came in 1980 when she starred in the movie Urban Cowboy with John Travolta. The film was a blockbuster and made her a leading lady. She played a role that distinguished her from the other female players of her time. Urban Cowboy's success carried her forward, setting her up as a leading performer with much promise in Hollywood. Soon after success in Urban Cowboy, Winger was being approached with larger roles. She appeared in Cannery Row, the movie version of John Steinbeck's novel, though the film did not prosper at the box office. But she had another strong role that year in An Officer and a Gentleman, co-starring Richard Gere. Her performance as Paula Pokrivki, a factory worker who is the fixation of a Navy officer candidate, captured the public's affection as well as the critics' attention. The film was a hit at the box office, and Winger was nominated for her first Academy Award for Best Actress. Winger moved to more diverse and difficult work in the early 1980s. She was in Terms of Endearment, one of her longest-lasting films. Playing Emma Greenway, the woman who must deal with the complexities of family, marriage, and illness, Winger performed one of the most emotional performances of her life. The movie, which also starred Shirley MacLaine and Jack Nicholson, was a box office and critical hit. Winger received a second Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, solidifying her position as one of the greatest actresses of her generation. Winger created a legacy for herself by holding true to her work and not being manipulated by Hollywood. She selectively chose her roles for substance rather than fame. This frequently caused conflict within the business, as she never had any qualms about challenging directors and producers. Her performances were marked by a raw intensity that resonated with viewers, and she became one of the most highly regarded actresses of her time. Winger never fully embraced Hollywood culture and expectations, and continued to clash with executives and co-stars throughout her professional life. She became known as a difficult person to work with. But those who had appreciated her talent knew that it was her refusal to settle that provided her performances with their strength. She did go on performing well into the late 1980s and the 1990s, but by the mid-90s had effectively retired from the industry. Debra Winger's journey from a near-fatal accident to a Hollywood celebrity is an accurate depiction of the strength and willpower of this woman. She took a life-changing experience and turned it into an inspiration and used it to fuel the fire of her acting career. Her entry into acting prepared her to be one of the best actresses of her era, and she was a household name as an actress who could add depth and life to a role. With her tough-as-nails roles and fearlessness in acting, Winger created a legacy that continues to influence new actors and viewers today. Debra Winger's Hollywood career was not only built on the basis of her extensive talent, but also on her determined personality and her refusal to be swayed by the forces of conformity in the industry. She spoke out when most of her generation of actresses did not hesitate to challenge authority, and was not going to accept what she felt was unfair or immoral behavior. This frequently set her at odds with studio bosses, directors, and actors, but also established her as one of Hollywood's regarded voices. Winger's life, though full of extremely well-received performances, was also marked by bouts with the very same industry that made her a star. Perhaps the first such instance of Winger's battle with Hollywood studio executives was during the promotion of An Officer and a Gentleman. Despite the monumental success of the film, behind the scenes, Winger did not get along with co-star Richard Gere or the director of the film, Taylor Hackford. Winger believed Hackford's style as a director was much too controlling and rigid, and repeatedly clashed with him over direction. She also famously described Gere as a brick wall in emotional terms, making it no secret that she was not impressed with his approach to acting. Despite these tensions, Winger's performance was the best for the film, and she demonstrated that she was capable of acting even under difficult working conditions. But her refusal to play the Hollywood game, where stars were expected to maintain appearances and be polite, kept the studio bosses wary of her. Her next major struggle came with Terms of Endearment, another critically successful film in which she was co-starring with Shirley MacLaine. Although the two stars performed well, their off-screen dynamic was strained. Winger was alleged to have a temper, and MacLaine, as a pro in Hollywood, had her own ideas. Rumors surfaced of tension on the set, and later Winger would comment that she had a revolutionary streak that annoyed people. When MacLaine won the Best Actress award that same year at the Academy Awards to Winger's detriment, she famously yelled, "I deserve this," a remark that is generally understood to be a dig at their competitiveness on the set. Winger, in turn, never denied that she and MacLaine had disagreed, but made a point to say that she had respect for the ability of her co-star. Winger's defiance wasn't limited to her interactions with directors and co-stars. She complained about the abuse of women in Hollywood, particularly in the 1980s, when the industry persisted in casting female characters stereotypically as sidekicks or love interests. Winger rejected numerous roles she considered shallow or stereotypical, often turning down lucrative work because it wasn't substantial. Her refusal to comply with Hollywood's expectations angered studio executives who found her uncooperative and unreliable. Unlike most actresses desperate to appease, Winger was selective about the projects she accepted and wasn't afraid to walk off sets on films that she didn't believe in. Her frankness was even more defiant when she spoke out against the industry's emphasis on appearance over substance. While other actresses were being pressured into appearing a certain way, Winger would not comply. She resisted the idea that she ought to appear in a specific way or adopt old-style Hollywood glamour. She frequently showed up at public events with minimal makeup and informal wear, the exact opposite of how other actresses seemed to dress at such events. Though it made her something of a welcome change in the business, it also distanced her from studio executives who demanded obedient, commercially viable stars. Another career-defining incident which underscored her refusal to compromise arrived in the late 1980s when she was cast in A League of Their Own. Winger was originally to have played Dottie Hinson, a role subsequently taken over by Gina Davis. She dropped out of the film upon hearing that pop singer Madonna had been contracted for a supporting role. Winger felt that hiring Madonna was a publicity gimmick to generate box office credibility and not an artistic choice. She was so dismayed by what she saw as the increasing focus within the industry on commercial appeal and not actual storytelling that she walked off the film. Her walking off set was viewed as yet another expression of her unwillingness to compromise for the sake of Hollywood politics. During the 1990s, Winger's defiance of Hollywood's ways was even more pronounced. She became increasingly disillusioned with the business and the way it was treating actors, especially actresses over a certain age. She regularly griped about the absence of work for actresses older than 40, complaining that the business was youth-obsessed. Speaking up earned her a clear voice in a business that so commonly discarded talented women for younger, more marketable women. Instead of trying to conform, Winger chose to step away from Hollywood, partially retiring from acting for several years. Despite her opposition to the industry, Winger remained an icon to many up-and-coming actresses who admired her integrity. Speaking truth to power regarding the failures of the industry did not make her popular among studio bosses, but it earned her a lot of respect from those who valued artistic honesty over money. For the following few years, Winger continued to be a vocal advocate of change within the industry. She took on projects that aligned with her ideals and produced independent films, which allowed her more autonomy over what she did. She also guided young actors and urged them to speak up and not be intimidated. The majority of actresses that leave Hollywood disappear into oblivion, but Winger was able to remain current based on her status as a willing and principled artist. In spite of changing times in Hollywood, Winger's influence was still felt. She had paved the way for a new generation of actresses who never shied away from demanding better roles and greater respect. Her influence was felt in the way women in the industry began talking about issues such as equal pay, ageism, and demanding better female characters. Winger's own career was a testament to the power of staying true to oneself in the face of industry pressure. While her struggles with executives and Hollywood culture cost her some roles, they also made her one of the most uncompromising and principled actresses of her generation. Winger's legacy is not only in the films that she left behind, but also in the way she pushed the industry to do better. She did not play by Hollywood rules, and in doing so became a legend of artistic integrity and determination. Her life and career showed that success is not always accomplished through fame or box office hits. After years at the center of Hollywood blockbusters, Debra Winger stunned the industry by abandoning leading roles in the mid-1990s. This was not because she lost her edge or wasn't getting the parts. She was tired of the superficial nature of the industry. She had fought industry expectations, fought directors, fought to be the idealized dream of a leading lady, and fought being presented with roles that were commercial instead of roles that had meaning for her. But eventually, the fights exhausted her. As the industry itself became filled with more blockbuster plot and newcomers were dominating the business, Winger felt there was less room for her in mainstream film. So rather than follow a path no longer holding her interest, she retired. There was no public statement or dramatic finale. Winger just started saying no to scripts, refusing to act in movies no longer holding her interest. It came as a shock to Hollywood, as she was still in her prime. Not many actresses choose to retire from acting when they are still considered star material, but Winger never did things the normal way. Although she was not involved in the big movies, Winger kept herself busy with other things. She had never lost her love of literature, politics, and education, and she began to devote more time to introspection and intellectual stimulation. Although she is no longer very active in the industry, Winger would make sporadic appearances in low-budget independent films. She chose independent cinema that suited her own personal ethics, where she could work unrestricted and was not bound to Hollywood commercialism. In contrast to other stars who take time off and attempt to come back in a large manner, Winger was selective, performing a project that was right for her, but not something that would revive her stardom in the mainstream. She played a supporting role in Rachel Getting Married, and it was evidence that she could even build smaller characters. She transitioned to television shows like The Ranch and Patriot, showing that she was able to still command the attention of viewers without necessarily being pushed to the fore. Her personal life had also been the topic of gossip for decades. She had already been married to the actor Timothy Hutton in the 1980s, but that was not a marriage that lasted either. Though Hutton was a fine actor in his own right, they could not make the relationship work over the long haul and split up. Her longest and most fulfilling affair started when she wed actor and director Arliss Howard in 1996. Howard had Winger's interest in the art and craft of storytelling beyond Hollywood mainstream. She had a relationship with him based on respect and a mutual aspiration for a more peaceful, richer life beyond the tension of the business. They both created a life where they cultivated the most important things in family, happiness, and creativity. Motherhood was the single most significant reason that Winger retired from Hollywood life, as she did not want to be continually working, never having enough time to spend with her children as much as she would have wanted. Unlike the majority of actresses who were unable to balance family and career, Winger welcomed motherhood fully, opting for her family over the demands of the industry. She has also been interested in political and social issues and advocated for various organizations and causes. She wrote a memoir, Undiscovered, in which she spoke about her work, choices, and reasons for parting ways with Hollywood's mainstream. The book gave readers a close glimpse at what she was thinking and experiencing, including her love of storytelling, disdain for Hollywood trends, and unbreakable resolve never to sell out. Now, Winger's life might be different from the pinnacle of Hollywood, but it is exactly what she wants it to be. She works when the right roles are offered to her, but without ego and desire for applause and fame. She is humble, keeping up with the family and working on projects she is interested in. Although no longer the ubiquitous movie star that she once was during her prime, she is still a highly respected member of the industry, admired because of her talent, integrity, and refusal to sell out. While much has changed in Hollywood since Winger's time, her legacy lives on. She is a hero to many women who have followed in her footsteps, breaking the old rules of the business and insisting on more roles and representation. Winger was a trailblazer in so many respects, refusing to be consumed by an industry that often tried to consume its stars. Her life is evidence that success is not popularity or wealth, but to live their life as they are, even if that includes leaving. For Winger, life is not holding on to the past, but learning something new each day and holding on to what brings her joy. Backstage, in front of the camera, in life, or simply living with those she loves, she has forged a life on her own terms. She remains an icon of artistic integrity and personal strength for all her struggles. And that's it for this video. We will see you in the next one.